Hi guys, it's Ona and Dr. Vicki, and we are here to talk about the Libra full moon that's occurring on, depending on where you live, either April 6th at midnight, right? Or just before midnight.
Well, just no, just at the beginning of April 6th, right? The 24 minutes after midnight.
24 minutes after midnight. So if you are west of the Eastern time zone, it's going to occur on the 5th, which is Wednesday. Today is Monday, April 3rd, 2023. It's a cool day, but with this one little tiny glitchy thing is that's occurring. We were talking about this is Mercury is moved into Taurus, and it's the ruler of the moon who's in Virgo today, and indirectly related, directing the sun's energy. So if some glitchy things are going on, that's totally fine. That's how the
Yeah,
day.
it's kind of a Mercury heavy day.
It
And
is.
then Mercury, as it moves into Pluto, then immediately squares. When Mercury moves into Taurus, it immediately squares Pluto.
Yeah.
You can tell Mercury, right?
Yeah.
What's in my head and what's coming out of my mouth is not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah. So Mercury in Taurus gives us the feeling of maybe stumbling on our words. Our words are leaded, or, uh, I could, maybe passive aggressivity could be part of
Possibly, possibly.
right?
You know what this feels like? It's like Mercury's going through, Aries, right? As we say in Jersey, balls to the wall, right? And then it hits Taurus, like boom,
Yes.
and it's like this, and then you have Pluto come in and saying, "Yeah," and this is what's going on, right? This, that's what
That's
it
the
feels
kind
like.
of day it is. That's the kind of week it is. I know we hear a lot of, March was more challenging than April, but I feel like this week is something that truly you need to document, because it's, Holy Week. It's gotta you've got to find some religion that you attach this week to, because they're all out there waiting to have you join. I mean, this is like the week of debts being owed. There's a full moon and unprecedented activity in our justice system, right?
Yeah, karma, right? As you sow, so shall you reap.
Karma.
And of course, we have
There
the
we
4-4
go.
portal tomorrow, which is the same day that Trump is going in for his hearing, I guess. And the vibration is the devil. So
Attachments, which you've been attached to. So that's so interesting. And there was like that perfect segue. And then the axis, right? That's the axis of identity. That's
that's right. The full moon along the axis of identity. The
yep.
sun conjuncts Chiron, opposes the moon, and then conjuncts Jupiter, right? When does
Yeah.
that happen? The next
Yes.
day?
Probably.
No,
So
wait, let
all
me
this
see.
activity
Next week, Jupiter conjuncts the sun.
when it is a this is a great time if you're thinking about it's starting to pique your interest, or opening the idea about astrology to it's so easy to just pull up a chart on what is happening, and what's happening outside of yourself there in the news and stuff, because those big news points often are bullet points in identifying patterns in the
That's
sky.
right. That's right. That's
That's
the whole study of mundane astrology, really. What's going on in the world and how is that reflected in the chart?
yeah,
That's how we learn astrology.
yeah. So this is a really, really, really neat moon. The stuff I've been sort of engaged in with since the
Aries.
new moon in Aries a couple weeks ago. I think I know I mentioned this in the pre-show, is I got a Reiki treatment. So some things that have come up since then are pretty strong. And that's the smell of pencil shavings, I'm not sure, but when I started burning this incense, I
Which
have
one?
Forest.
Taurus?
It smells like a library.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm like, all right. So we'll just keep that, keep that in mind. And the crystal that I got also probably related to the Reiki treatment were tektites. So I feel like this moon is sending signals in that wave pattern.
Yes. Well, and that I think is also Pluto and Aquarius. I think tektite and moldavite, which is a tektite, and I think that they'll become more popular as Pluto's in Aquarius.
Yeah, yeah, and more expensive, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I feel like if this is a full moon that might be challenging in any way, the remedy maybe for that would be a good guitar riff, right?
You
Yes,
had a song, right? You sent me
section
a
of
song.
guitar. I did, and this has come up, and I was able to connect the chain of how I personally would understand the song. Um, but the song for this full moon is Soul. What did I say? Soul Shine.
Soul Shine from the Allman Brothers, 1994.
Yeah.
The last time
So
Saturn was in Pisces.
the last time Saturn was in Pisces. So this could
That's
be,
that's also something that we'll see with Saturn and Pisces now,
yeah.
is those early 90s, all that stuff we'll start talking about Kurt Cobain. We'll start talking about all those people from that era.
Yes.
He had a crap load of Pisces in his chart. He was such a sensitive soul.
Everything about his body movements and the way he managed himself. And I know that there's probably more footage when he was on, mind altering substances, was the world was overwhelming. It was
Yeah.
so clearly overwhelming to him.
Which happens to a lot of artists.
Mhm.
That's why they create art, because it helps them alleviate their pain, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Heal or heal thyself. Artist, art thyself. I don't know. Who
Yeah.
art thou?
Yes. Ooh,
Good question with the full moon in Libra, right?
that is. Can we look at the chart? Let's look at the chart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, see some ties here and some of the stuff we said. Also, for some reason, the chart I printed out for no reason other than some kind of course, mercurial weird glitch again. The it says full size over Lilith, and I see, what is Lilith doing in relationship to all of this? Aries or Eris, maybe. No, I
I
don't know.
don't have Eris here, but I
He's
can
at
add Eris.
24 of Pisces.
Who is?
Eris.
No, Aries. Eris has been in Aries since
I'm
1924.
sorry, you're right, Aries. Yes. I
Yeah,
don't know why I said that.
you were hoping.
Yeah, that would be fun, huh?
My mother had her Eris in Pisces. In fact, she passed when Jupiter was going over the last degree of Pisces, because that's where she had her Eris.
Wow.
So her struggle was over, and
Yeah,
she was freed into spirit. Yeah,
yeah.
profound stuff. I almost said something else, but profound times we're living in there, girlfriend.
There
So
now.
this is a chart for the US, right? I know, for those of you who might not be from the US or are watching us, we appreciate that you let us look at the US chart.
Yeah.
As the US goes, I think so goes the world. So, and not that that's necessarily a good thing. That seems to be the thing. So we can look here. We have the Sag rising, which is the same rising as the Sibley chart. So
Mhm.
that's a different degree. I think the Sibley chart's around 13 or 14 degrees, but we have that. We have that the moon at 1607 or 17 degrees is very close to this to the moon of the Sibley charts, Saturn.
Okay.
So there's the opposition, and Saturn in the Sibley chart in the 10th house is symbolic of the president.
Yeah.
So
And this is right. And this is how we start to train ourselves to make connections in astrology. And then when you see it again, or when is the next date that that might happen, you can prepare for it. Right.
yeah.
So neat. So interesting. This is there a kite in there, or am I?
Yes, no, there's a kite.
Yeah.
So we have a grand water trine between the South Node, Saturn, and Mars.
Okay.
And it's both making a sextile to the North Node and Mercury, our friend Mercury, in Taurus, which of course is squaring Pluto here. Pluto, of course, is squaring the nodes. When Pluto squares the nodes, and it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, we're at a crossroads. We're at a evolutionary crossroads in which we have to decide which direction we're going to go in. And the resolution node for this particular setup is the South Node in Scorpio. So there's something about the past, our past relationships, our indebtedness to each other, things like that, that need to be evaluated so we can move in the direction of the North Node.
Yeah.
And Mercury, of course, is about to conjunct the North Node within the next couple of days. So, or the next day even maybe. So we have all of these things sort of coming to a head, like a giant, if you don't mind me saying, pustulated pimple in some cases. Like, and it's going to stink for a while, but it's part of the process of healing. If you don't see it and you don't smell it, I think
Right.
we should talk to you about smelling, right? But
Bacon. I don't know. I smell bacon now.
bacon, isn't it Passover? Isn't it like a bad thing?
Okay, it's
Good
past,
Friday and you're smelling bacon.
there's no rhyme or reason to any of that other than you know, you just maybe the heightened sense of, you know, police awareness and stuff like that. That's just a moniker we gave police when we were kids. And when I wrote it down, I'm like, huh. All right. So my life,
So
my plates are renewed. I'm good.
well, something just popped into my mind and it popped out. So if it pops back in, I'll interrupt you again. Hopefully I'll remember this time what was floating through my mind.
I think there's so much. I also want,
I remember. So
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Say
yeah,
what
go
you.
ahead.
So one of the things that's happening is Pluto, of course, is moving through Aquarius, but it's moving very slowly. So it doesn't really even get to 1 degree of Aquarius. It's in the minutes, right? It's like, I think it's 10, what is it? 10 minutes, 12 minutes.
12.
So in April in general, Pluto's moving forward. May 1st, May Day, very powerful day. Beltane, right? The Taurus energy. It changes direction and starts going backwards. So Pluto's only moving, it's in Aquarius, but only moving forward in Aquarius until the end of this month. So a lot of the stuff that's happening this month is a clue to the forward motion of that Pluto through Aquarius. And as we move Pluto through Aquarius, we actually evolve through the polarity point of Aquarius. Just like we evolved, well, Pluto is in Capricorn, we had to evolve through the Cancer polarity, which is what are you feeling? You know, home and family and security and children and safety, all of these, right? So we can see those themes. Now that Pluto's moved into Aquarius, it's about Leo, and Leo is about the light that you shine, being a star. And so in order for us to evolve through this Aquarius energy, we have to shine our light.
Yeah.
And so it's so very important, especially now, because this is the first salvo of Pluto in Aquarius. It's going to go out, it's going to go in, it's going to go out, and then it's going to go in and stay in.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really happen till 2024 or 5,
I think
24.
it's the end of 2024. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost
So we
20.
have this 2-year period of Pluto sort of spanning the divide between Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, what is that? That's similar to the square that we had. It's similar in energy in that we're trying to break out of the old traditional structures, Capricorn, into this new reality of Aquarius. And we saw that during 2021 and 2022 when we have the squares between Saturn, which is
Yeah.
about structure, and Uranus, which is about blowing the structure apart. So there's still this process that we have to go through of letting go of the old sort of structures,
Yeah.
the big organizations, banking,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
universities, government, all of that is still in the process.
I got this visual of, and I'll have to look it up and write this down, of like the Wright brothers going off a cliff, right? But not down, but actually proving that airborne Aquarius, that can be achieved, right? That you can actually fly an instrument like that or be in one like that. That's the idea of like Saturn's like the hill that they're on top of, and
And then they jump off and they go
Aquarius.
whoop, and then
Yeah.
they have to do whatever they do real quick.
Think about the rush of feelings in you when you're about to jump off a cliff. You don't even send like, you know, an animal or anything. Like, that must be the biggest thrill, right? Or
Or
scare,
the opposite.
yeah, or scare. And this is a kind of reflective of what Pluto moving into Aquarius and Saturn moving into Pisces is like. It's like the biggest thrill, the biggest scare, but boy, it makes an impact on you.
Well, we definitely have the sense of some things coming to an end,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some things that we can't even imagine in certain cases that's coming into the future for us. Or actually, I should say, if we become aware that we're co-creative with spirit and that we can create our own reality, we've been doing it this whole time. The question is, have we been creating somebody else's what they're telling us to create?
Mhm.
Are we listening to what they're telling us has
Yeah.
happening? Like there's this sort of weird sort of like not really believing what you're hearing,
Right.
and can you really adjust yourself so that you can, I don't know, have a little bit more agency through this period? I think,
Yeah.
how much control do we really have? We kind of don't.
You
We're
really
kind
don't. And this is interesting. This is a good segue into those areas that Aries and Libra, this axis actually covers the eyes. Remember when there's someone into Aries, the brain, the eyes, watch, protect the eyes. I think I hit myself with a mascara wand.
I did too. Oh my God, it hurt so bad. Like my right eye, pink. Um, and then
Reverse the kidneys. So anything in
kidneys.
pairs, really, anything that comes in pairs, sort of be aware of. And so interesting, you said like our perception. So this might be part of the full moon, just whatever sort of led me to it. But I finished this book in about like one day. In the basic words. I haven't done that in a very, very long time where I devoured a book like that. And the thing, which was totally worth it, $28.99. No, I'm not getting any royalties off of this, but I paid the price for this quote. And this is very full moon in Libra E in the sense is he says he goes through some neuron stuff, not real technical. It's interesting. He says perception is nothing more than a controlled hallucination.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I'm trying to help each other understand that our perception is different than your perception, we're each controlling our own environment with what we're allowed to bring in, because allowing too much to come in is overwhelming. And we are, thank God, people are writing books like this, like you said in your video, learning that older individuals, sort of in my category, maybe through what we've been exposed to or the supplements we take, are learning and being more open about being neurodivergent. You know, you've had Lyme disease, before and after Lyme, things are
Different.
different. They
They're
feel different.
different.
Your
Yeah.
reaction is different.
And that, and that's also that idea of Chiron and Aries, I think, the wound of being unique in a way, or being different. There's that sort of side of Chiron and Aries.
Yeah.
But there's just there's so many different ways, but it's all about self. It's really,
Yeah.
because it's Aries. So who are you? How do you define yourself? And then of course you look to Mars as the ruler of Aries. So that's a consideration
Just
as
started its
well.
journey in there in Cancer. So
And it's part of that it's funny because when this whole Alvin Bragg thing finally like came to fruition,
yeah.
that Saturn, there was the Saturn Mars trine that had been going on since October, November. It was exact. It was in Aquarius and Gemini, right? Mars and Gemini. But the last of it happens in Pisces and Cancer, and it's like a giant wave. And I don't know if you watched Cash Peters' March, I think it was his March energy picture that he's doing now, monthly energy pictures. That's exactly what it was, like this
Yeah.
giant wave that was.
Yeah.
So it's
Because I'm afraid to. I'm afraid it might influence me in something I see, or but maybe I should start a monthly with watching that, so that I'm
well, if I were you, I would perhaps get your own monthly vibe on it before you watch. Like, I don't watch those unless I've done my side of
yeah,
it,
yeah,
like I'll look at the astrology and I'll be like, oh, that's what. So I'll watch him and I'll say, oh, this is what he's talking about from my perspective, like
yeah,
how I see it through my eyes.
right.
Right. And that's the value of even just talking about these things
Mhm.
in different, via your senses, via what comes into you psychically, via your astrology, via the numbers, via
Mhm.
the, it's just another way to get to, I guess it's almost like a little bit of a comfort, like a Linus blanket to
Yeah.
to have some comfort that at least, even if we don't necessarily have control over what's going to happen, if
Mm.
you have a little, if there's a reason behind things, and if there's a reasonable, like, something, then you're like, oh, okay, so there's a lesson in this, and let's learn the lesson. And
Yeah.
you know but this full moon is, and we have to remember that the new moon to this one was at 1 degree of Aries, and we're having another new moon in Aries later in the month, and
I
that's at
know.
30 degrees of Aries,
Yeah.
and it's an eclipse.
I know. I don't even want to start smelling that. That's like a big note. There it is. It's going to be a lot of energy, and this full moon is too. And I think we just have to try and plug into that place in the heart that makes you happy. With the
Yeah.
music, I say guitar because I think that's what you're gonna feel the most. Probably should keep some grounding energy on board too, but I think it's a full moon in Libra, meaning we need to tune into what's in the air.
Yes, definitely. And of course, Libra being an archetype of relationship, our relationships come into focus here. You know, are they a reflection of, you know, usually we learn about ourselves through our relationships as the other person reflects things. You know, oftentimes we are attracted to people we think that have what we don't have.
Hmm.
But in the truth, in the light of truth, we all have it. It's
Yeah.
just that, you know, sometimes you have to learn how to get it from them. In other words, you have to, it's not, you're not really getting it from them, but you're watching them and you're like, well, how did, and then you're like, oh, let me apply this to myself. It's
Yeah.
always about it. It always really does come back to the self because that's our perspective. We're looking through these eyes, and this
Right.
is the eyes of the self,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know.
Exactly. And that's where, you know, I think this all kind of ties in together with our perspective during this cycle is going to change. And our Mars and Cancer there is going to make us feel it. And Mercury's going to go retrograde, I think, in the end of April, too. So that's going to be like reliving it.
Yeah.
So there's a remedy for
Mercury through
everything.
Taurus, Mercury through, well, all the Mercury retrogrades are mostly in Earth this year, except for the last one, which has a little bit, I think, of Sag in it or something, but it's all Earth. So there's a lot of, you know, that's a lot of money issues and, you know, reevaluating the whole money thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
interesting.
which is, you know, which is going to be another theme that sort of weaves its way as we move from Pluto in Capricorn to Pluto in air into Aquarius and then back and then back. All
Yeah.
that the I think there's a lot of cryptocurrency, all that stuff is going to be
There
um
are a lot of local races, the mayoral races tomorrow. I mean, this is such a charged time. It's crazy. And that whole idea of property taxes, they've gone up, I'm in the Chicagoland area here, and it's just going to change because we're going to go back up a little bit when Pluto moves back, and then it's going to go forward again. It's a really good time to pick something and follow its path in astrology.
what are you picking? Do you have
I
you
have,
have a pick?
I probably might, well, I'll let you know. You already know. You already know. And I haven't really said anything because I haven't found a date, but I got a feeling it might be on Thursday that I'm going to see Salvador Dali's exhibit at the Art Institute of Chicago on Michigan Avenue. So I'm trying to pick the right day that the stars allow, and that I'm not going to go there tomorrow. Like I'm not passing. I'm not going down past Grand Avenue. I'm
I'm
not.
not even going to the bodega tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a couple days you want to know, and any time that parking my car is going to cost me 45 to $75, I take a lift.
Yeah.
I take a lift. I don't have to worry about the parking meter. It just went to $50, so I may as well stay overnight. It's too much money. You spend too much money doing that. So I take a lift and I go down there, and their rates will change based on where they think it is, rush hour traffic. And
Right.
so I don't think they're going to be cheap tomorrow going anywhere near downtown, past near closed Trump Tower, anywhere around there.
You have a Trump Tower in Chicago?
Yes. And as the story goes, before we close, he sold contracts to people for, let's say, $600,000, and they put a deposit on that,
Mm-hmm.
say 40 or 50. Then came back time later and said, oh, sorry, your new condo as per your contract, had to be inflated because of construction costs and building costs and permits. So your $600,000 condo is now $1.2 million. How you gonna pay? And no, you can't get a refund. Bye. He did that. My realtor sold 2 units in that building. He really like pulled the rug out from people who were already buying a luxury condo and then couldn't afford it anymore. So yeah, oh, there's pictures of people like mooning, like pulling their pants on and mooning and going down the Chicago River and the sightseeing boat and stuff. Yeah, it's had some.
I have to share something I heard on I think the guy's name is David Feldman. I think it was him. He's a lefty. I love him. He's like an old Jewish guy, lefty guy.
Uh,
And he has a podcast and he was saying, oh no, it was Keith Olbermann said this. He's hysterical too. He goes, he said, oh, he won a protest. So I went down because Keith Olbermann lives in New York. I went down to Trump Tower to see, he said, and there was just one guy with a sign that said gays for Trump. He said, but there was only one of them. So I think it should have said gay for Trump. And I just busted up. I was listening to my new earbuds that my best friend Ona sent me.
That would be so cool to put a sign up like that. Oh my God. You know what? I don't even know how everybody is going to surface and survive the
This is also something that needs to be
onslaught of
kind of talked about, is this whole, and of course Libra is legal. It's like the can of worms is getting opened.
Please remember, please know that the right decision is going to be made.
Oh yeah. It's justice is going to do what justice is going to do. The fact that a line has been drawn is the most important thing. And now we're going to see how that, because he's never had a line.
Yeah.
No one's ever said this is only as far. And this full moon is conjunct Trump's Jupiter, which is his luckiest planet, and his Chiron.
Yeah.
And he's having actually his Chiron is opposing his Chiron, and Jupiter is opposing his Jupiter, and Chiron and Jupiter are conjunct. So there's this whole opening up the can of wound worms, so to speak, or wounded worms, or worms of the wounded, or that energy. So it's, full moons are about observation more than anything else. Something gets revealed.
Yeah.
So for each one of us, we're going to see the big reveal when it comes to Trump, but to a certain extent, I don't know how much we're going to see, but just in general, like in our own lives, like what's being revealed, let's look at it. And what do you see?
Yeah.
And now that you have a full vision of this, the next step is, how are you going to integrate it into your life?
Yeah.
Whatever awareness you have.
Yeah. That's the full moon. That's a full moon in Libra. Yeah. So cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm going to do maybe Giblets wants to get on and do some stuff because it's Easter. He's got bunny ears and, he wants to maybe do a thing. But thank you guys so much. I love you guys so much. And we will see you sometime during this Holy Week.
Thanks, everyone. And just remember, stay calm and carry on.
Guitar, like air guitar, whatever, the strings, the vibration, that will help. It clears energy beautifully.
Yes.
Like I think you can hold a smoke or a candle in front of a strumming guitar and it will affect the flame and the smoke.
Vibration, yeah, moves the
it moves through the air. Yes. All right. Thank you. Love you. And we'll see you.
Take care, everyone. We love you.